This is the Everything Weight Loss podcast with Shari Ware, where we talk about everything, all things, anything to do with weight loss, health, and wellness. So today we're talking to Karen Moloney, who loves simplifying the complex. She's spent 30 years in her career helping people understand how to use technology to automate tasks, improve efficiency, and grow their business. Karen has worked with companies large and small across Australia, New Zealand, Asia Pacific, UK, and Europe, and has been a business owner since 2007. She became a mum to her son in 2010 and has been juggling work and life ever since. A self-confessed geek, Karen loves all things technology and started her current business, Bluebeam Media, to help service-based business owners get digital marketing done and accelerate growth. So first of all, welcome to the podcast, Karen. Lovely to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be chatting with you.
Now, I know that you have got an amazing story which has led you to what you do today. So tell us about that. Why do you do what you do?
I started work back in the late 80s, and when I had my first job, everybody was typing memos and sending envelopes around offices and that kind of stuff. And I was lucky enough to be part of working on a help desk for a tech company when that all happened, and I found out how to use email and Windows and a mouse and things like that, and loved it. And I think because I was already working on the help desk, was going to be dealing with a lot of those calls, I got trained up. Actually got sent on a training course by a company for something IT, which doesn't happen much anymore. And I just really loved working with tech and just helping people understand tech. And I think probably coming from a place where we were all paper-based and things were typed and photocopied and sent out and stuff. I think when you can see that sort of difference in a workplace and the impact it makes for people, it just really excited me. So I for that company, I went around and showed people how to use Windows and a mouse and how to send emails and how to organize their files electronically and all those real basic things, which I really loved. And that led me into a career in IT training. I then went on to run my own e-learning business for a while, and and I'm still working with tech now.
Now, I know that part of what you do has come out of from when you became a mum, and tell us about that.
Yeah, so I had a corporate career. I had a really good corporate career, and before I was a mum. I was a late bloomer as far as being a mum was concerned. I didn't have my son till I was 38. I kind of part of this generation that were encouraged to have careers, and then kind of went, oh dear, better have the baby. And I think it just became really difficult to sort of manage both. I was unaware of just how much I would need family support at the time. All my family are in the UK. And a lot of the friends that we had at the time were people who either worked in the city or didn't have children. So there wasn't very much support around. And I just kind of felt like I needed to keep all the balls in the air. So I needed to run the business. I needed to bring in the wage. I needed to be the perfect mum. Keep the house clean and get the dinner on the table and do all of that kind of stuff as well.
Super mum.
Yeah. I think we all have that aspiration. And it just took me almost to the point of breaking to understand that I couldn't do those things anymore. So I started making some changes. I mean, I run a completely different business now to the one I was running at that time. I think that business that I was running was not in line with my values. While I could do that work and I was good at it, I was doing it in the wrong space with the wrong people for the wrong people. Yeah. And so I've started a different business now, which is based on the same kind of skill sets and the same kind of premise around helping people with tech. But I've designed this business very much around what I want it to be like to fit in with the life that I want, because it's okay to not want to work 85-hour weeks and things like that.
Yes. Wow, that's awesome. So I'm going to ask you one of my favourite questions because I feel like we're at the point now in your story where this applies. What would be, if you were to say that you have a superpower, what would it be?
I think for me, maybe I've already touched on it in my bio, it's about simplifying the complex. It's about taking lots of information and picking out the bits that people really need to know, or just cutting to the chase, or, using tools to help you figure out problems, like whatever it may be, but it's just about making things easier. And obviously in my work that obviously focuses around business and a lot around how we can use technology to do that, but it's also started to apply to me in my life. I've started looking at how can I make my life easier, and understanding that I'm not, I may feel like I have superpowers, but I am not supernatural. It's not possible for me to achieve all the things that I necessarily want to in a 24-hour period. So I've started looking, I did some work this year on myself and a really deep dive on my values and what they mean to me and how they flow out in my business. And I think what I realized was I wasn't in line with my own values myself. So I wasn't walking the talk. So I spend all my time, and I think we're all conscious of that. We're all guilty of that.
Yes.
When you're good at something, you're really good at doing it for other people, but not good at doing it for yourself.
Yeah, and sometimes because we don't take that time out to actually do that work, we're not even aware that we're not living in line with our values.
No, but I think it was when I was just sort of waking up every day, not wanting to go to work. And I thought, that's what happened when I had a corporate job and started my business. This shouldn't be happening here.
Yeah.
I want to get up, I want to bounce out of bed every day, ready to do the work that I want to do. So,
yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I know that as part of, I know that you've made some lifestyle changes to do with your work and your business. Yeah. So, and I know that they're amazing. And I know that these are some actionable things that people can implement into their own life. So I'd love you to take us through some of those things that you've implemented in your life to make things easier for you. And before we go into that, I really want to touch on that a bit more. So often we have this mindset that we just need to try harder. And what I love about your story is that you've realised that there's no trying harder. That's not
there was no more.
There's no more trying harder. And you've actually taken that different perspective, that you've switched mindsets and you've gone, okay, how can I make this easier? So tell us some of the ways that some real actionable ways that you've done that in your life.
Yeah, I will. But before I do that, I want to be really clear that this is a process that I started on a journey on almost 2 years ago, and I have been making incremental changes in my life. I didn't just decide to do all of these things at once. So I think actionable is a really good word for you to use there, because what I hope in sharing what I'm doing is that somebody can just take ideas and just go, like, for the next couple of months, I'm just going to do this.
Yes.
But what I want you to understand and be encouraged by is that if you start making these little changes incrementally and just focusing on them and making them work for you over time, it can really change your whole life.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So one thing that I have done that's had a massive impact on my life, and people find it quite funny given that I consider myself a bit of a geek, is that I actually have switched myself off. So I have 2 separate phones, and I have a work phone that has my work email and all my worky apps, my LinkedIn and my, I have a separate Facebook account that's my work Facebook. So all of those things are actually, all the apps and all of the email, everything is on one phone. And I have a personal phone that has access to my personal email, my personal Facebook, and all my little apps, and even just on my personal contacts list. Everything is separated. That took me a while to do because it's been entwined for 20 years.
Yes.
So again, that was something I actually got an assistant to help me with that process of separating those things out. My second phone is a cheap phone, so a lot of people will think, oh, it's a really expensive thing to do. I think it was like a $200 phone, and I have a $15 pay as you go thing, because and then, you know, if I'm using it personally, I'm using it on Wi-Fi, so it doesn't it's not an expensive thing to do. But what that has allowed me to do is just be present wherever I am, you know, doing whatever I'm doing. So when I'm, you know, home at weekends or evenings, the work phone is switched off and in my bag or in my desk or wherever I choose to leave it. It means I'm not tempted to thumb through anything work related of an evening. So it means I actually don't really touch my phone as much as I used to, because I just felt like I always needed to be switched on and just checking, you know, what was going on. But I mean, the reality is there's nothing that I do for my clients that couldn't wait until 9 o'clock tomorrow. So that has been really key for me. I mean, there were a number of occasions. There was one in particular where we were going away for a weekend, and we got close to where we were going, and I needed to look up the address, which was on an email. So I opened up my phone, opened up my email, and there happened to be an email from a client in there that I just saw, and it actually just ruined my whole weekend. Again, wrong business, wrong clients, all that kind of stuff as well. But the fact is, if it wasn't there, I would never have seen it. So that's been a really key thing. So I think understanding that it's okay to separate out. It's okay not to be switched on 24/7 and to be responding to everything like when other people want you to. You know, I will park all of those things and I will deal with them in the morning when I'm ready.
It sounds like it's about setting clear boundaries for yourself. Other
Boundaries.
people will lead where you follow.
Yeah.
We have to lead with those boundaries.
We do. And I'm really clear with my clients when I start working with them that, you know, these are the hours of work. You know, if there's likely to be something where you need to contact me on a Sunday evening, let's talk about that first, because I don't think it's going to happen anyway. And I think once you set those boundaries, it becomes really easy. I haven't had a situation in the last 18 months where anybody's needed me outside of 9 to 5. So it just proves it can happen. I appreciate everybody's got different businesses and different reasons for that, but it's something that has worked really well for me and meant that I am present wherever I am and more productive and more relaxed. So that helps with sleep. Sleep has been huge. I've made sleep a priority. I don't look at any device 2 hours before bedtime. I go to bed at 8:30 at night time. I write my journal. I'm asleep by 9. I'm up at 5. You know, and again, it's not for everybody, but I guard my sleep, you know, with my life, because I know that if I'm not sleeping well, nothing else is working well. So I lost weight when I started sleeping properly.
There you go.
Interesting, just like something I didn't do it for that. I didn't expect it to happen. But I think because my body was able to rest and recharge and do what it was supposed to be doing while I was sleeping.
And you release stress on your body as well.
Totally. So sleep was massive. And I also stopped drinking alcohol. I think, and a lot of my friends kind of laughed when I did it, because I was always the party girl, you know, could always rely on me to be the first one there, last one home, you know. And I think there is a big kind of culture around working mums in particular. Like there's a lot of pressure on mums these days to be everything and do everything, and it can be really tough. And I think what I got into was a pattern of rewarding myself with a glass of wine in the evening when, you know, work was done, dishes were done, kid was in bed, you know, that was my wind down, my relax. And it just became a bit of a habit. And I think what I didn't realize at the time was just how much it was affecting me in terms of I wasn't actually relaxed. It might help you to relax initially, but the effects of the alcohol actually interfere with your sleep quite dramatically.
Absolutely.
And again, also just, you know, regular use of something like that does affect how your body digests food and all those things. So again, something else that contributed to weight loss when I started doing it. So, but I've just found I was a lot more clear-headed, anxiety disappeared. You know, I was just a lot more energy. and just more able to kind of deal with things as they've come up. I mean, I was very glad I had done that before what's happened this year, because
Yeah.
I'm really not sure. I think I would have just been sat in with a couple of crates of wine for 6 months.
There's definitely blessings in so many things. So yes, that is something that is very good that you did before all of the craziness
It
happened.
is, but I think it's something that, you know, I don't know, for me, I just felt so good, and I still feel so good. I don't feel the need to have one or two or whatever. It's actually just something now. I'm just quite comfortable with the fact that it's not something I do. I did it as I did a 28-day challenge, just to change my relationship with alcohol, to stop drinking every night, you know, as my reward for getting through the day.
Yes.
And after that 28 days, it just dramatically changed how I felt, and I just felt so good. I kept going.
Yeah.
But I think, but I've seen the benefits of that. I'm still seeing the benefits of that 18 months down the track.
Awesome.
So it's interesting, but I think then there's so many more. There's lots of non-alcoholic drinks coming out now. There's lots of, I'm noticing lots of bars and things are having the non-alcoholic wines and beers and stuff. So it's actually quite nice to be able to go out and not feel like the weirdo.
Yeah.
With orange juice everywhere, you know. So I had a sneaky wine out at the mums, you know, school mums dinner the other week that was a non-alcoholic wine, but it was just quite nice because I seem to blend in with everybody else. So it's becoming a bit more acceptable not to do that. But definitely, you know, everybody's different. But I think if that's something, particularly if you have anxiety and are feeling like things are hard to cope with, and if you're starting to hang out for that, you know, 5 o'clock glass of wine, it might be time to just check in with yourself.
Yeah, definitely. It's about the relationship that we have with it, isn't it?
Definitely.
So what other things have you implemented to make life easier for yourself and your family?
Outsourcing.
There's
so again, a major source of stress. So what I've been doing over this period of time is noticing when I feel stressed, and looking at what the situations are that are contributing to that stress, and then seeing what I can change. And sometimes it's just an attitudinal change. Sometimes it's how I'm just perceiving a situation.
Yeah.
There are other times, like, you know, as I've started to work a little bit more, and my son is doing more activities of an evening, getting a decent dinner on the table at a decent time of night has been stressful. And I decided, I tried a couple of different things. I had some of those delivery box things done where they turn up and you get your menu and all your ingredients.
Yep.
And they say 30 minutes, but like, trust me, it takes me longer than 30 minutes to do any of that stuff.
Yes.
I know they kitchen test it and stuff, but they got really good knives and things. I don't have any of that.
Yes. And I'm sure they don't have children who are wanting, you know, mum at certain times.
And the dog and people
right.
calling and all that stuff. So
yeah,
that was okay for a little while, but then I actually have somebody now. There's a local lady who runs a great business who we choose meals. We choose 3 or 4 meals each week, and they're freshly cooked and delivered on a Sunday night, and they go in the fridge and we just peel them off. And like, it's fantastic because everybody has what they want. So, you know, there's no kind of, you know, argument because we're all eating the thing that mum wants tonight.
Yeah.
It's all nutritionally balanced, so we're eating well, and everybody can rip the lid off and stick it in the microwave for 2 minutes if they want to. So it's just taken that whole dinner time stress away. Plus the time takes to shop and prepare a menu for the week, and even just, you know, the actual cooking and stuff, which means that we all get more time of an evening together.
Awesome.
That's been huge.
Awesome. I love all of those things. And the thing to remember is, as you said in the beginning, that's one thing that it's one of the biggest things I say is one thing at a time. Focus on one change at a time, because how many of us have tried to, you know, go on these challenges where we change everything that we eat and we try and add in all this exercise or whatever it may be that we're trying to do, but we try to do too much at once. And how long does it last? Well, it doesn't usually last very long because it's unsustainable. So definitely focusing on one thing at a time. And even if maybe not all of those things will resonate with you, but even just choosing one of them to start on, you're going to get a result in towards an easier life, especially if you are a mum who is trying to do all the things, who is trying to wear all the hats. And I think one of the biggest lessons that you have that's come out of your story is that it's okay to not be able to do all the things. That's normal.
Yep, absolutely. I have always been very independent, and particularly, moving halfway across the world from my whole support system 20 years ago, maybe even more so that way. And then becoming a mother and being a business owner, I was just like, okay, I just have to take more on, and I have to take more on. And it broke me.
Yeah.
And it broke me for a long time. It wasn't something that just sort of happened and then I picked myself up and moved on. Like, I was broken for a long time, and it's taken, so this has been a 2-year journey really. And I'm not there, still not there yet.
Yeah.
I don't even know where there is, to be honest with
Yeah.
you, but I do feel, what I do feel is a lot more grounded, a lot calmer. I mean, my 10-year-old son has even told me that he prefers this mum to the other mum, which is one of those things, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, that it was a beautiful thing for him to tell me, but also really upset me, because I kind of figured, oh, what was I like before? And I think sort of short-tempered and not present was maybe the biggest thing there. But yeah, if you can just make little changes and understand that it's okay not to do everything yourself. It's, I say this to people in business all the time. Is, when they say about things I can help them with, I say, you're a business owner, you're not expected to be good at everything. And as a mum, you're not expected to be good at everything. But I think there are lots of social pressures out there.
Yes.
I think just do what works for you. Like I love the fact that somebody delivers my weekly dinners on a Sunday night. I love cooking, and I love cooking for my family, but at the end of the day, it's just stressing me out and doesn't make good for anybody, so that they're all eating healthier and they've got a better mum. So look at the outcomes, like what is it you're actually trying to achieve, and are you the best person to achieve it?
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is no, and there's always somebody out there that can fit that gap.
And the other thing to remember too is that this doesn't have to be forever. Like, this is what's making your life easier at this point in time with what's going on in your life right now.
Yeah.
As things change in your family, that's that's likely to change as well. And people being open to, I guess, going with the flow in that respect, and knowing that, okay, well, this is what's going to make it easier for me right now, so let's do that right now, and that might change in the future, but let's do this now.
Yeah,
So,
and sometimes things work and sometimes they don't. So we tried a few different things with the making meal times easier, and it didn't work first time.
yeah.
So we tried something else. Like, don't stop trying,
No,
because it shouldn't have to be hard and stressful all the time. You're going to have periods of time where there's ups and downs, but for the most part, if you can look to sort of be flatline most of the time in terms of your levels of calm and things, and get people involved with chores. I did a roster for chores in my house, as I thought, why am I shopping for the food, preparing the food, cooking the food, and cleaning up after dinner? It's like,
yes,
it's crazy.
Trying to do all the things, and you don't have to do all the things.
No.
Awesome. And I guess that also helps people in the family take ownership as well.
Totally. I mean, I think particularly I'm quite conscious about bringing up a boy who understands his part in the household.
Yeah.
Which is quite different from what I grew up seeing with my parents, where my mum did everything for my dad, and my husband and I kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But for my son, I kind of go, by the time he's ready to, like, settle down with a partner, there won't be another person on this earth that's ready to iron a shirt for him. It's just not going to happen.
That's
so
right.
He's got to know how to iron his own shirts and how to keep his room clean and how to clean a toilet and all that stuff, So I think this again all started around a time where he's 10 and a half now. So he was then sort of like about 8. So of a good age where he could start taking on more responsibility and doing all those kind of things himself. And hopefully will make somebody a great husband one day.
That's right. Okay, so I'd like to know, The last question I want to ask you, which I'll ask in a moment. Before I do you have any programs coming up, or how can people contact you if they need help with their business, with the getting digital marketing done and accelerating their growth?
So I'm focused really on automation. So anything to do with getting your tools set up and teaching how to do that, and content repurposing. So if you need any help with that, you can find me on LinkedIn, Karen Moloney, with an M-O Moloney, not an M-A Moloney. Or my website is bluebeammedia.com.au.
Okay, and I'll put all of those links in the show notes for anybody who wants to connect with you further. And so that leads me to my last question. I would like to know, what's the one thing that you want people, if they're listening to this episode and they walk away, what's the one thing that you want them to know?
It's okay not to do everything. Right? You need to just take care of yourself first and think about how you can achieve all of those things in a better way that doesn't end up hurting you.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me, Karen. It's been lovely talking to you, and I know that there will people who will get there's a lot of mums out there who are trying to do all the things that will get some real value out of this, and I hope to have another discussion with you on something else in the future.
That's awesome. Thanks for having me, Shari.
And we'll see everybody else on the next episode.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.